We collect food scraps and you know, vegetables, bread, whatever, any compostable material we have neighborhood compost drop-off bins, so people in the neighborhood can come by our building whenever it's open, drop off their food wastes. We collect it from Yeshiva University, and we also collect it from the Green Market near Isham Park on Saturdays. So all of that material comes here, and what it turns into is just like a really incredibly nutrient-rich compost that we use in and around our gardens. There are some hard rules about composting. You can't compost any dairy, you can't compost any meat. While this looks like you just throw it in a pile, there's actually a really important art and technique to composting, and that requires that you have a carbon to nitrogen ratio, a balance, and that's because the microorganisms that are breaking down all of that plant material, all of those food scraps, need both carbon and nitrogen, and they need it in the right ratios in order for them to survive. So when we compost, we create what's called a windrow of compost, where we layer our food scraps, we layer our plant material, and then we also need a carbon source. So we'll use fallen leaves are a really great carbon source. Wood chips, we create our own wood chips here. We'll use that. Sawdust, all of those things, and then you basically kind of like layer it the way you would layer like a cake or something, and it breaks down a lot faster. So this site, as you can see, got really, really hammered in the storm. It's really close to the water, but as I was mentioning, this is really one of the most important projects that we do here, and we really need volunteers to be out and to be involved. And composting is a culture. There's so much to learn about it. I'm just barely scratching the surface with it. But it's a really incredible process, and I think for a lot of people, seeing a big, huge pile of like food and plants, and then to look at like a year later and see this really dark, rich, nutrient compost, it's really amazing to think that something can make that sort of transformation. Honestly, the compost is the reason that Swindler's Cove and Sherman Creek are able to exist. This was all landfill. When we started working here, the soil was so degraded that you really couldn't do any plantings in it. So we used compost to amend the soil, and you can see the diverse variety of plants that we host now in this space. And it's all because we were able to amend the soil with compost.